Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I am a graduate optometrist working in Sydney, and in this video I'm going to cover some of my favorite dry eye drops to recommend to patients. So moving on to the first eye drop that is perhaps the most popularly recommended by a lot of people, especially back in the days, is called Hylo Forte. So something that looks like this. So you can see that this comes in a special type of bottle which has a multi-dose delivery system. Pretty much when you are delivering a drop, you are pumping or squeezing out a drop. Essentially protects the drops from inside the bottle from getting contaminated, and that's why it is also preservative-free. So it's important to have preservative-free bottles these days because we were told that preservatives in the eye drops could have a long-term risk to the eye, causing irritations. If you're putting preservatives on the eye for several days or several months, it could cause other redness or irritations, and you're essentially compounding the dry eye problem that you already face. So the benefit of the Hylo Forte, or what makes it unique compared to the other drops, is that it is a more watery type of eye drop. What that means is that I feel like it is pretty similar to the components of the tear films, and I personally actually use this every night as an inserting eye drop to use with my contact lenses that I wear overnight. And the second eye drop that we're going to cover is called the Systane Complete. The Systane Complete dry eye drops are apparently not suitable to be used when you have contact lenses in the eye, meaning that you could put it before you put in the contact lenses and after you take them out, but not during the day, for example. And that is one of the potential downside of the Systane Complete eye drops. However, there are a lot of positive reviews about the drops, and Systane, being a big family of eye drops, are a very well-known brand. And I would typically recommend the Systane Complete to people that is suffering a more serious version of the dry eyes, where I feel like they will need to be putting in the drops very often, meaning up to 4 times a day, and essentially the Hylo Forte is not really enough. And the third eye drop that we're going to cover is the Cationorm. So Cationorm is one of the newer eye drops on the market, so it looks something like this. I like to think that the Cationorm eye drops is quite similar to Systane Complete in the sense that they're also of a milky solution, have that lipid component in the eye, but with its name you might be wondering why it's called Cationorm. So it has some positively charged particles in there, and the belief is that the surface of the eye is slightly negative charged, and having positive particles in there will essentially prolong the retention of the eye drops in the eye. And one of the key selling points for the eye drops is that you would only really need to use this 4 times a day. And unlike Systane Complete, which sometimes you are expecting it to be used like every 1 to 2 hours, Cationorm are essentially saying that you only need to use us 4 times a day, and you will have the same amount of benefits as if you were to use more. Some components of the eye drops are quite effective at reducing the inflammation. And switching over to another sort of theory type of block in this video, we are told that dry eye is also an inflammatory causing process. So meaning that once you have the sort of lipid layer being deficient, like having the evaporative form, or you're not producing enough tears, the aqueous form, or a mixture of both, you are essentially causing dry eye spots called SPK on the eye. Having SPK means that it's almost like having dry spots on the skin. It will lead to inflammation, and inflammation will lead to more dry eyes, and dry eye leading to a spot, and the spots cause the dry eye, so it's more of a vicious cycle. So having an eye drop that is targeting the inflammation is particularly useful in cutting down on this cycle. and this is why the Cationorm is actually quite popular. Okay, so let's go through some of the common misconceptions of dry eye. The first is that dry drops don't really lead to any issue of dependency. Sometimes people are scared of putting drops in their eyes because it will lead to them being dependent on the eye drops, and it is quite understandable in the sense that you don't want to be putting in medications or putting in eye drops all the time. But what we normally say to people, or what I normally say to people, is that you can think about dry drops almost like moisturizing the skin. It first acts as a protective barrier, but most importantly, it lubricates or fixes most of the dry spots. The second misconception is that there seems to be the expectation that there should be an eye drop that is one size fits all, but in reality, because these dry eye drops are quite different in its features, people normally have their favorite form of eye drops, and we rarely want people to switch to a different eye drop if they tell us that they're happy. Thirdly, dry eye is really something that can be treated in a stepwise approach. If we look at the latest studies that has been ingrained in our mind as UNSW students, is the dry eye workshop, and in that paper there is 4 levels of dry eye treatments, and pretty much we've only covered up to level 2. The expectation is that dry eye treatment is a long-term game, and you first try the things from level 1 and level 2 first, and if these things aren't enough, then you could level up and build onto the existing levels, go to level 3 and level 4. So it is important to consult your eye care professional, potentially be referred to a dry eye clinic that will go through these things with you. So if you found this video helpful, please click the like button, and if you have any questions or suggestions, you could write them down in the comment section below. And given that this is a new channel, I will share more of the eye care tips and productivity tips, and hopefully grow this channel to a wider audience.